here. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite wall crawler's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Revoltech Spider Man, which is their second use of the mold, the first being Deadpool, which I did look at as well, but I have to admit, I haven't been very fond of any Revoltech figures I've looked at. This may be the first one that I actually do enjoy. But in order to tell you why, we have to first look at the accessories. So he comes with a display base. I wish this was off-centered a little bit. It's very centered, so you kind of feel like in order to keep balance on it, you have to have this armature back and this one forward. I feel like I don't know, or it just doesn't lend itself to a lot of very balanced things, but it's fine ultimately. It swivels at the bottom, hinge, 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 and that's it. Now the other thing that you do get with it is this piece, which is magnetized. And I guess you would just use this to store, because I don't think this would be strong enough. But maybe if you were going to just stand him straight up, you could use this and then latch onto him here. So ultimately, it's fine. And then you also get an extension for the stand, so that can plug in here and then swivels again, but no hinge at the top to give you even more options. Now the other thing that you can do is you can take this and you can take the clasp part off and just use this. You can even insert this, but we'll get back to it. Stick it onto a, I don't know, a refrigerator or something, and then you can stick him onto that, and then you pose him and such so that he's holding on, with his hands back to the wall or whatever. And then it also has the clasp, obviously, that you could use to stick him onto it and hold on to the fridge or whatever that way. And then also you can use this interchangeably with this peg and peg him in this way or whatever you want to do. So there's a lot of options with this display base. You get 2 extra replacement joints, so that's a nice touch. You get 2 wall crawling hands, 2 fist hands, and then 2 trigger hands, which is a little strange. It's supposed, I'm guessing anyway, that it's supposed to be to hold the webbing, but even still, having the finger offset like that, like it should be holding a gun, is still a little strange. So I'm not exactly sure if that was the best choice. I just want to show that you can insert this and and then you can have it angled in his hand. But I'm just not sure that that's the best choice overall. Now you also get different sets of eyes. You have like intimidating, super pissed, and surprised, and then you have like the standard. In order to swap them out, you just use your tool. I thought that before, with Deadpool anyway, you used a magnet, but it seems like I don't think these are magnetized, and like the peg is actually facing the opposite direction. So let's push from that end, and you can see where the peg sorts in, and it's at an angle, so then you just put it in and install it. I'm not sure if Deadpool had problems, and because am I going crazy? I feel like the Deadpool one was magnetized, but either way, these aren't, but you still get the magnet tool, so whatevs. And then we have his webbing. All of it sort of works the same way with a couple of minor differences. So first we have this one, which is like, it's not wired or anything, it's just like a soft plastic, and it has a fixed loop. So if you carefully remove this from the loop, then what you can do is you can utilize it around the waist of a figure or whatever you wanted to do, and then have him hold it with the trigger finger hand, and that finger does keep the webbing down, so maybe that's the intended use for it, not totally sure, and then make a pose out of it. So that's pretty cool. Now you see this other one that he has on his hand, there's a peg in the bottom of his hand, and then this is a clear peg, or a hole in the bottom of his hand, clear peg, and then you can angle it up so it looks like it's coming out of his forearms. That's a nice touch, because usually it looks like it's coming out of his hand, but the web shooters were right here at the wrist. So you have 2 of these, and obviously your other option is to have the little hook facing the opposite side of the wrist, and then you can use the fixed loop around something and hang him down from something. Now, the last 2 accessories that are left are these. You'll notice that the pegs are larger and they fit into the ports in his hand. And this allows you to insert those and use them as swinging web hands. so that you can pull off a pose like this. I mean, there's really an insane amount of options here, but it doesn't stop there.
That's right, we at Revoltech have multiple different accessories, and you can make him web sling, you can make him shoot webs, you can make him use a web lasso, and if you act now, we'll throw in a real live spider. What is that, Jim? Call in the next 15 minutes, we'll throw in 2 real live spiders.
Now, let's talk about the figure. So I'm going to go over the detailings first because it's really about the articulation with this guy. So all of the web line work is done really clean throughout. It's all sculpted, like all of the little crevices are sculpted in the webbing, and then it's all painted very clean. Now, that doesn't mean that all of it's clean in terms of the paint, because the problem is that there's a heavy wash on the neck and a little bit on the head, and that's it. The wash doesn't exist every now and then, and I'm guessing that's not even a wash. I'm guessing that's paint getting outside the lines and then them kind of rubbing it is my only guess, because it's not in a lot of places. It's only in a few places. So it's a little inconsistent, but I can tell you that unless you have bright lights looking at it, you're not really going to notice it. It's not really going to bother you. Not the biggest deal in the world. All right. So the head itself has this cover flap, just like the Deadpool did. Let me watch the focus in there. So you can get the head all the way up, and I'm guessing this is utilizing all Revoltech joints. I don't know. They're all basically like ball hinges with pegs on both sides, and then it has a little neck covering flap as well. So you get the head all the way up to there, so pretty much straight in line, and then all the way down to there, because this piece here is on a soft ratcheting hinge also. So I mean, it's really an incredible range, and because it's Spider-Man, it lends itself to it fairly well, and you get the swivel. So the shoulders, same Deadpool wonky shoulders, which is like this double disc hinge with pegs on both sides. So it never really looks right if you're just having him standing like on a shelf, but he's not meant for that. He's meant for dynamic poses as a result of utilizing, which is basically 2 discs hinge and two disc hinges and 2 or ball hinges and then 2 pegs, so they swivel at both sides and hinge on both discs. You get the arm all the way across the body. You get it all the way. I have noticed that these come out easily, but it doesn't break. All the way back to there, all the way down, all the way up, and then around, of course. It just, in order to hide the joints, you have to put it in a dynamic pose. That is the purpose of this thing. So the blue, I should also point out, is all like this metallic blue, but it looks beautiful, it looks stunning. I got to give it to him. Great job there. All the musculature is that stylized look, but it all looks good. The elbow, same type of joint. It's like a ball hinge, soft ratchets with pegs on both sides. So it swivels at both sides, and you get a range to about there. So that's good. Same system for the wrist. So you get here and there, and then you can swivel it and get in and out as well. So that's good. No issues there. Except, you know, you have to pose this guy where it hides the joints and makes it work. And it's not difficult, but it just takes some effort. You know, like that even looks cool to me. Like if you did like a close-up shot. I don't know. I have to admit, I've had a lot of fun messing with this guy as opposed to Deadpool. I think the character just lends itself to this sort of a thing better. I imagine the Venom will be just as good. Same for the other side. We have the same sort of Revoltech joint in the waist. Both, I think this might just, yep, it's at both portions. So you have one going from the pelvis to the abdomen, one from the abdomen to the back. It does gap in the back, but usually, like I said, it's for a very specific pose. And, you know, you get your pose, you hide the joints down the best you can, and you keep it moving. So I think it's cool, and I think it works. And look at that. Let me get the legs down so you can see just how far he is bent over, all the way to there. It does take some messing with, and you know, you will have to hide the gaps, and you will have to hide the joints, and then you of course get the swivel at the chest and at the abdomen, at the waist, and then this is a soft piece of plastic that floats to try to help you cover as much as you can. One of the joints in the back here is even painted with that metallic blue to try to help that gappage, so there is an effort there. Ball joints, T-jointed ball joints for hips. which gets you, it's weird because it's a fairly limited range, but then you rotate the thigh around and you can kind of get the leg out to here. Why won't this stay in focus? It is hard to get the thigh straight up, but it's not impossible. You just have to work around the joint. Same type of disc hinge that swivels at both sides for the knee, which gets you the full range just about. And then the ankle tilt down and up. We have a boot swivel, we have an ankle swivel, we have an ankle rocker, and we have a toe hinge. So there's no limit to the articulation. It's just that I need to make sure that I'm crystal clear here. The articulation is meant for dynamic displays only. It will look pretty goofy just standing on a shelf. It's definitely not the intention here. And there he is size comparison wise with the Marvel Legend. So thinner, you know, more sleeker, but definitely comparable in terms of height. Final thoughts wise, I think this is an extremely good effort, but I got to talk about the negatives first. The negatives are you can't use it as just a stand on the shelf piece. It doesn't lend itself to that. The joints are too hideous. We all know that now from the Deadpool. Let's see what else. I do wish that the peg in the center of the base was more off center so that you could balance the figure over top of the middle of the base. And I do wish that the paint was more consistent in terms of the washes versus the line work that's done on the webbing on the Spider-Man himself. Outside of that, I think it's great. I think the accessories are awesome. I think that the poses, like it's like the first time you're able to get Spider-Man into the Spider-Man poses you've always wanted to get him into. I can't describe the amount of nostalgia I'm having right now because like I remember the first Spider-Man figure I ever got. It was like the Toy Biz, one of the Toy Biz original ones, and like I remember thinking to myself, like, God, like it's cool to have Spider-Man, but like he can't do anything Spider-Man can do. Like, you know, like does whatever a spider can, like not that Toy Biz one. But like this one does. And it is a tremendous amount of fun. I haven't been able to stop posing him. Like it lends itself to all the like unique and almost signature and iconic poses you've always thought of when you think of Spider-Man. Even some of those McFarlane ones, which are like next to impossible to get into. So while I didn't like the Deadpool, because I don't feel like Deadpool works as well on this sort of platform, I do think the Spider-Man lends himself to it tremendously. I also feel like the Venom will as well. It's funny, this is on loan to me from Pinkerton, and when he suggested I take a look at it, I was like, man, I already looked at it in my head. I was like, man, I already looked at the Deadpool. Like, I know I don't like it. I'm glad I took his word for it to try it out because I do love this thing. It is probably the most fun I have had with the figure in a long time. And the interesting thing about it is that in terms of how I view figures and how I view they should be done, this doesn't do a lot of those things. The paint isn't 100%, the blue is 100%, but a lot of the paint isn't 100% in terms of its cleanliness. The aesthetic looks absurd in a lot of different poses, but I have to admit, the fun factor here is so significantly disproportionate to the things that I don't like, and meaning that the fun factor is at 100. Maybe it's at 100,000, and the things I don't like are like at a 3. So when it even, you know, factored in and averaged in, it still ends up being tremendously better than you would think because of how you're able to make him look like Spider-Man. I mean, like, come on. I love it. This is easily the first Revoltech figure that I've ever looked at that I've enjoyed, and I enjoy it a lot. So yeah, do I recommend it? If you're a Spider-Man fan, like I was a huge Spider-Man fan. I got into comics through Spider-Man. He was the first comic book I ever bought. If you are a Spider-Man fan, I definitely recommend this if you like to pose him in the Spider-Man poses, or at the very least, try it out. If you find somebody that has one, go over and ask to mess with it because you'll be amazed at how much fun you end up having with it. Probably one of the funnest figures I've ever looked at. As a fact. And this thing is really ugly in a lot of poses, but in the poses that aren't ugly, it's an absurd amount of fun. I feel like a kid again right now. So anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.
Let's close the box again and do that.
That's good.